So this is from the Code of the Matrix. This is an image that is in there. And what I'm pointing out in the Code of the Matrix is actually this hanging outside of the code. And, this is 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. This is a long time ago. But it was one of those things that if you just see one thing, you already know what's going on. And that's what the signs and the symbols and the codes are in the matrix. So you also have to do some critical thinking. Put yourself in maybe somebody's shoes. So if I'm in the shoes of Mr. Combs, I'm not going to spend tons of money buying myself a Maltese cross that nobody recognizes in the cliques and the crews that I'm really catering to. This could easily be a Jesus piece. This could easily be, the chain of the record label. It could be anything beside this, because this cross specifically cannot really be worn by someone unless they are affiliated with specific groups. So there was also an excerpt, and I did spend a little bit of time today trying to track down this excerpt, but if you could think about what it was like, you can kind of see this folder here, because a lot of times I would just run across books, right? And these books will always be old. They kind of look like this, right? Like it's these kind of books, right? Where the F is an S. And it still reads out thoroughly, but you'll have to go in and just really kind of look at stuff and you'll be reading, and then every now and then you would catch something that would be on point, and then you would snip that. At least that's what I would do, right? And then I ended up having this huge folder of very obscure excerpts, okay? And in one of these excerpts, there is a snip that I took out of the word Diddy, which was a cognate of the word Didymus and also a cognate of the word Daedalus, but it was specifically Diddy. It was a nickname for the Pope. So back in the day, a Pope was called a Diddy, all right? And I'll just have to find my excerpt of that. But beyond that also, if you remember, and I'm showing you all this for a reason though. There's a bigger reason why I'm showing this. So if you remember, this guy had a big news article at a certain point because he actually tried to, or did dress up as the Pope during Halloween, okay? But we could just say, oh, that's just a coincidence. But what we're really here to talk about is actually what is going on with not only this situation, but this specific time, because there's something powerful also happening. And every year that it happens, and sometimes it happens in succession, sometimes it'll be every 2 to 3 years, sometimes it's every Jubilee, because this is astronomy. There comes this period called the choosing of the Aster. What I also saw is that I saw the key to the Illuminati in this series of awareness of seeing how things work, not based on going to another reality or to another universe, but actually watching people who you could tell were in the Illuminati and then what ultimately happened to them. So this is also that checkpoint in life and in existence where we say, okay, this particular path, these specific kind of people, everything that they were promised, everything they thought was going to happen, ended up with them generally doing jail time at an old age, like Bill Cosby, like Suge Knight. Like so many of these guys, they keep getting into this situation where they get humiliated. Why is that? Well, it's because the entire religion itself of the Illuminati is humiliation. And so you have people thinking that they were going to come in and they were going to get all this respect and they were going to learn all these magical powers and they were going to be higher than everybody else. And what they got is being a toilet. How does this work? It works on a simple principle. And one guy that was in there just said it, and it was as clear as it could be. They will ask you, do you really want it? And whatever it is some goal that has been set by this person that they feel like, yes, if I achieve this in life, this will give me what I want. And that's what I was saying about setting goals. Because if any of those people had thought about it again and just really, knew about it, because that's why knowing, knowledge, wisdom, it assists. Because if you watch another person go through their whole life like Sammy Davis did, like Sammy Davis talks about, from the moment he got in music, when they figured out he could make some money, the mob was already at his door. And he had other friends that were good at making music. And when they chose not to go with the mob, they stopped playing their songs on the radio. It's kind of like looking at Bruce Willis now doing a BC rated movie at 65 years old. It's like, man, you see Bruno Mars, he's like $50-60 million in debt in Vegas. So what I'm saying is, and this is the point that I'm bringing up. So what happened here? You see what I mean? It's like you still have a whole generation, still people that are aspiring to be like this. And they're already being shown, hey, if you be like that, then this is where you're going to go. You're going to get humiliated. But see, religions are also built into this same structure. And this is why many of these guys flip-flop, like Daddy Yankee did just now. Now he's a Christian. It's like, come on, like, you see how the whole reality is set up? So it's like you go out of the frying pan into the fire. So of course, they like, look, man, there's a lot of new cats coming, Mr. Yankee, like Chuco, he's nuts. He's got lots of girls too. Like, you're going to need to switch it up. I think you should go Christian. And then, Daddy Yankee gets saved by Christ. Then you know what? You keep more of your career and you could do less videos. You don't have to pay as many girls. You see what I mean? It's like, this is, even with Kanye, he make the flip flop, all the Christian people. Oh my goodness, he's going to bring so many people to Christ. Now he's on the interview. Well, I called Jesus. Jesus didn't show up. So I got problem with Jesus right now. I'm not really with that anymore. Right. Oh, but see, this double bind thing is a part of mind control, because they know, okay, if the person starts slipping out a little too much, we can put them on the Christian program, or basically put them back on the Christian program. Let's put it that way. And then, like I said, they gain more fans and they gain more momentum. But remember, the whole thing is also about humiliation. And that's what you're seeing between now this new case with Diddy, and then obviously the previous case with Epstein, and them all having the same thing going on. But actually, it's all in the code. A Diddy is a diddler. A diddler is a fiddler. So this is a reference for someone who tampers with younger people. We'll just put it that way. This is why the popes were implicated in that heavily. Does anybody remember, as we were coming up, I guess that was about, 20 years ago, they had outed all the popes around the world for being involved in this. There was a few weeks of court cases and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, it all went away. So even when that whole thing hit the fan, even with them, they just went away. It's like these actors and stars, they're the ones that are getting because they're like, oh, you're out in the open. This is where we can kind of do a little bit more humiliation, but there's a deeper game also being played. And this game is psychological, because despite people are lining up to talk about this person, Diddy, and what he did, Diddy is also a cognitive daddy in that way. So these are triggers in a person's mind. They will also find that many of these people want to live this same kind of lifestyle. It's all a part of the lifestyle. Yeah, there's girls that are young there, 16, 17, 18-year-old girls, 21-year-old girls, the fast girls, as they call them. This is all a part of the rapper's lifestyle. Yeah, there's drugs. You think everybody's sober? But then you see how this whole thing happens in the reality, though, because it's like a mock ritual where somebody now gets crucified. And then people can feel kind of like justified that they like can talk about the person. You see, he's the worst person in the world. But even though in the back of that person's mind, they would be doing the same thing that that person is doing if they were given the opportunity to do it. So there is a real psychological aspect to this, but it's important, the timing. And here's why. Because as many know, on Sunday, especially reaching into this full moon, so it's like 1 week before the full moon, something like this, we reached that point of the choosing of the Aster. And now we won't even find any information on the choosing of the Aster anymore. I got to go find one of these old books again that speak about it heavy, about what goes on in this particular period and why do they need to do it around the full moon. The holiday moves around based on where the moon is. So there's a compensation for the Gregorian calendar's problem there. That's the same way it is in the Chinese culture. They use the lunar calendar. They first of the year, as we know, was in February. So because they're looking at the lunar cycles, because that's the real clock. That's okay, we at 12 o'clock again. And when the choosing of the Aster happened, what it's about is you choosing the energy that you are going to be rocking with, for better lack of words, through the next cycle. So it's a process of courtship. And this is why the Easter, like on the planet, they chose the Easter as being the Queen Elizabeth, who she's gone now. But that faction, as you're seeing with the Maltese cross, they're all aware of every Easter. We need to make sure we get, it's not just distraction. There's triggers going on, and it makes the person say, well, this is who I'm with.